In this video you will learn how to download and install the Node.js. Before we download, you have to open up the command prompt. We have to first check either we have Node.js installed in our system or not. So in the command prompt you have to just type this command node space dash v, dash is hyphen v, okay, node space hyphen v, press enter. So you can see Node is not installed in our system, so it means we have to download and install. So just type download Node.js, first link which says node.js.org. Just go inside that website and it will redirect you to the download page. In the download page, go to the pre-built installer and here you will see download Node.js. Make sure that what is your system. My system is Windows, Windows operating system, okay. If you have Mac OS, then select Mac OS. If you have Linux, then go with Linux. So in my case I have Windows, so Windows is chosen, and then click on download Node.js. Then go to your downloads and double click on the file which you downloaded, which is the Node.js download file, okay. Now click next, I accept, next, 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 and install. So it has been installed successfully. Click finish. Now let's close the browser. Now first we will open command prompt as an administrator and we will run the command node-v, and you can see Node has been installed successfully. Now if we run the command prompt directly without as an administrator, then we want to check node-v. So you can see that it has been installed successfully. Now let's create our first Node.js project. So for that purpose, first of all, for example, you want to create a Node.js project on your desktop. So I will create first a new folder. I will give it name as Amazon underscore clone. Okay, or you will say backend underscore Amazon underscore clone. Backend Amazon clone is the name of this folder. And I place it on the desktop. Then open up the Visual Studio Code. So the Visual Studio Code is open now, as you can see. Now the next thing you have to do is click on File and click on Open Folder. Navigate to the desktop and here we have our backend Amazon clone. Select folder, okay, select and click on Select Folder. So backend Amazon clone is open now in our VS Code. Now click on Terminal, New Terminal, and in the terminal you have to run this command npm space init. So our package name is backend underscore Amazon underscore clone. Press enter, then press enter. In the description you can say, like, for example, this is the backend of Amazon clone app. Okay, just write any description you want and press enter. Then it asks for the entry point to our Node.js project. So the entry point will be index.js file, okay. So press enter, click enter, 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 and then license, click enter. Is this okay? Yes, click enter. Now if you see here, this package.json file is created. If you open it, you will see here the name, version, description, man, scripts, author, and license. The name of our package, or you can say the name of our project, which is backend underscore Amazon underscore clone. And the entry point, the important thing is this one, which is the entry point by the name index.json. Copy this name and we have to create a new file by the same name, which is index.json. Now just for the testing purposes, we are going to print out a message using the console.log, and we will say inside the double quotes, we will say this is test, or you can say hello world, it is up to you, okay. And now make sure to put a semicolon at the end. So now to test the application in the terminal, you have to run the command which is node and our entry point name, which is index.js. Press enter. if you don't get input, make sure to first save the project, save all. Okay, and when you save all, then run again node index.js and you will see the result. This is test hello world. So before testing, make sure that you save the project by clicking save all, and then run the command node space index.json, and it will tell you this is test hello world, which is our first line of code for testing in Node.js. Now the next important thing is to install the Express. I will close this terminal and open the new terminal. Okay, you can open the new terminal from here as well by clicking on this add button. Okay, just like this. And now let's install the Express. So in order to install the Express, you have to type the command npm space I stands for install, and then Express, EXPRESS, Express. Press enter. It is now installing the Express, and it done successfully. If you go to the package.json, then here you will find out a new property is added by the name dependencies Express with its current version. Now go back to the index.json, which is our entry point. Now how we can import the Express module? It is simple. All you need to do is you have to just type const, and we will give it name as Express. Const Express equals require inside the double quotes you have to type Express. So this is how we import the Express module. After it, we define the port, on which port it will be listening. So we can say port underscore, I will give it name as port underscore number, and let's say the port number is 5000. So this is basically how we define the port number. The server will listen. Then we create an instance of the Express application by the name application, and to this we assign the Express. Okay, this is how we create instance of the Express application. It is going to give us the starting point. Using this application, we are going to start the server. That is, next step is start the server, that is keep listening to our port number. I will simply increase the size of the code, that is the font size, so you can see it more easily. So port underscore number, comma, parenthesis, the arrow operator, curly braces, make sure to add the semicolon at the end, and then in here you can say console.log, and we will say that on which port our server is running. So we can say server start running on port number, for example the port number we will display for the testing purpose. So port underscore number, make sure to add a semicolon at the end. So using this line of code, it basically start the server and listen on the specified port. For example, our specified port is 5000. There are different ports. For example, you can run it on the port number, let's say 4000. Okay, so let's save all. Okay, and then let's open up the terminal and run the node index.js command. So you can see that server start running on port number 4000. Now the next important thing is to learn how to create your API endpoint. For example, your first endpoint. For example, here I can simply say application.get, and I will explain all this in a while. First, let's complete this, and it will be by the name, let's say test first endpoint, or you can just say test endpoint. Okay, as this is our first endpoint, let's say for testing purposes we are creating it. You can say request comma response. So we can say response.send and the response will be, this is test hello world again. Make sure to save all. Get is used to request data from a specified resource. For example, here we specified our URL, API URL. For example, using this URL, I will send a request to our server because I want something from the server as a response, and as a response the server will return me this message, which is, this is test hello world again. So this is our router, or you can say our API URL, using which we will send the request. Now the request we send from the client. For example, our client is, let's say, this app, okay, and I want to sign up. So from the sign up page I will fill out this form, name, email, password, and I will click on create account. So for the sign up we will create endpoint by the name, let's say for example sign up endpoint, or you can say this is our API URL, or you can say our router. So from the client, when we send the request, after when we click on this create account, we will send request. So when the request is sent using this endpoint, we will send the request. Okay, so when the request is sent, we expect a response from the server. So for example, the server will send us a response, let's say account created successfully, and let's say hello world, okay, just for testing purposes. So we send request from the client using this endpoint, and then as a response from the server we receive this message, account created hello world. Now how we will test it in the browser? For example, so close the terminal, okay, by clicking on this delete icon. It will kill the terminal, and first of all make sure that you save all, and then after saving all, open up a new terminal and start the server once again. So the server start running on the port 4000, which you can see here. Then open up your browser, and then using localhost colon your port number and then your endpoint, using which you will send the request. For example, from the client, when the user click on the create account, we will send the request using this endpoint, or you can say using this API URL. So for example, copy this, and in the browser after your port number you can paste it like this. Remember, localhost LOCALHOST colon your port number and then your endpoint, and then press enter. So you see, when we send the request, we receive this response, which is account created hello world, which you see here. Okay, this was the response. Now imagine if we have, let's say, if we want to implement multiple endpoints, as we will have multiple features in the app. For example, sign in endpoint, and let's say edit account endpoint, product categories endpoint, and search endpoint. For example, different endpoints we will have, multiple endpoints we will have in the future when we will implement our project. So we have to keep the code clean and organized. So for that purpose, let's create a new folder. You can give it name as routes or endpoints, or we can give it the both names, like routes underscore endpoints, because some people call it routes, some people call it endpoints. So you will give it name as routes underscore endpoints, and inside the routes underscore endpoints folder, inside it we will create a new file, and it will be by the name auth.js. So for example, the endpoints, or you can say the routes for the sign in and for the sign up, we will implement inside this auth.js. Let's say in the future we will have, let's say for editing profile, or for categories, or for products. Let's say if we have multiple other endpoints or other routes, we will implement it inside this folder routes underscore endpoints. So let's say it will be by the name profile.js, category.js, product.js, user.js. So for each route or for each endpoint, we will have a separate .js file. So by this, like this, we can keep the code clean and organized. As we have a separate auth.js file, for example, for the sign in and sign up, and that we will implement inside the auth.js. So on each root.js file, first we have to make sure that we at the top of the page we must required, or you can say include the express, that is const express require express. Now we will define the router, for example express dot router, and as you know that, for example, this one is for the, this router is, let's say for example, for the sign up and sign in. So as a whole, you know, it is related to authentication, so we will give it a proper name like auth router. So we initialize the express router by the name auth router, and using auth router, now we can get the response from the server, for example, in the same way just like we did here. So I will simply copy this from here, and of course you can remove it from here, we don't need it here. Okay, we already keep the code clean by creating separate routes folder inside which we will implement all our routes or all routers. So anyways, now I paste it here like this, and using our auth router we can say auth router dot get. Now we have to make this auth router available, and in order to make it available we have to export it by simply saying module dot exports the auth router. As it is exported here, the next thing is we have to import here as well. So right after the require express, we can simply import it by simply saying const auth router equals to require, and we require auth.js, which is inside the folder routes underscore endpoints. So we have to provide the exact name, which is end underscore endpoints dot slash, that is inside our project backend Amazon clone. In here we have the folder by the name routes underscore endpoints, and under that folder we have our auth.js root. So we have to provide that name, which is auth, and there is no need to write the extension .js. Okay, just slash auth. So make sure to include it on the index.js file. So we require this auth root on our main index.js. Now on the index.js, using the middleware, you can say using the middleware we have to register our this auth router. So on the index.js file, so currently, as you know, we have only one auth.js route, so we have to register here using the middleware, you can say. So we will say application dot use, and then our router name, which is auth router. Close the server, close the terminal by clicking delete icon. And here I commit a small mistake. The folder name is roots underscore endpoints. Okay, by mistake I forgot and I just write end underscore endpoints. So it is roots underscore endpoints, in which we have auth file. Okay, so please make sure that you write the correct folder name and as well as the path. So anyway, now let's save all and let's start running the server. Server is running on port 4000. So now let's test our application. Our endpoint name is sign up endpoint. So here you can see